Okay, today I'm going to do a quick little video to show how simple it is to set up a two-step with the Holley Terminator X and probably all Holley EFI systems, really. I know it's, again, just like the flex fuel, it's simple and redundant, but upon looking for a easy to follow guide on YouTube, just for the sake of watching something while I was bored, I realized there really aren't any videos out there that just kind of show the exact steps and get you squared away. If you have literally no idea what you're doing and you want to set up a two-step on a switch and sound cool and be cool, this is all you need to do. So I pulled up the map that I'm currently using, or I guess the file. The first thing you need to do is go here into the I/O input outputs. Name one of these. Use input number 2. I don't know what the deal is, but when I go into my handheld device to designate an input to a certain thing, well, to this specific thing, for some reason it only showed input 2, 3, and 4 is available. So I put flex fuel in 1 because there's nothing on the handheld that you need to do. It just uses 1 and does its thing. So I have a separate video that you can find that was recently posted on how to wire a flex fuel sensor. I have another video coming on how to set up the flex fuel sensor and go about creating an advanced ICF and 1D tables to get your flex fuel sensor working right. Oh, 1 second here. So in your IOs, go down here to number 2 if it's open. Probably is, because I'm sure this is the first thing you're doing with your Holley system. Name one, two-step, or whatever you want. Two-step, I used a 12 volt supply to that wire. You can use a ground. I right now am running on just a switch. I'll explain that here in a second. But so two-step, 12 volt. You don't need to do anything else. I hunted it up and down, left and right, because I thought there's got to be more to it. There isn't. Now, what's happening here is when input number 2 gets 12 volt, it's going to react to what you've called two-step. So really, in this section, all you're doing is telling yourself, this is what I have input number 2 designated for, two-step. Now, go up here to pin map. Once you have written that two-step in the I/O in your pin map, it's going to show up right here. I'll just get rid of it for a second to show you. It's going to be right here. It's going to be labeled as whatever you labeled it as. Like I said, mine says two-step. I have a trans brake launch thing here. AC kick will probably be automatically shot right here on input 1. Get rid of it, unless you're going to use it, so you have space for things that actually matter. Grab two-step, drag it down here, slap it in, make sure it matches. Input number 2, two-step. And that's it on the computer. So you can save that file and grab your SD card and go over to your piece of equipment. Let's hop up in here. I'm playing with this new phone-mounted gimbal thing right now. It's pretty sweet. Now, the next thing you're going to do, let's see if I can get this thing to clock itself. Sort of. So, where's it going to pick the picture up decent? Next thing you're going to do is go to Advanced Features, Launch, two-step, whoop. And on this page, it's going to say disabled and nothing down here. Click Enable. They're calling this rev limiter number 1. It's a switch. Enable. Once it's enabled, you can select the input you want to use. Obviously, you're going to click on this. It's going to show you the inputs. Like I said right here, it doesn't say number 1 for whatever reason. Click number 2. Rev limiter type, spark high only. That means that it will only cut ignition when it reaches whatever RPM you set. And it doesn't have any other things that it has to do. You can set spark only, and then you can choose what RPM it kicks it off at and which RPM it kicks it back on at, if you want a bigger delay between basically your rev limiter settings. For this, I would just start with spark high only and enjoy. So from there, you are literally done. You've already got it set up. I don't know why this thing doesn't focus worth a damn. My phone would have recorded this better without it. Maybe it's just in the preview mode that it looks like shit. I'll have to see when the video uploads. But now, the next thing you want to do is, okay, so input number 2 is looking for 12 volt. Right here is where I have that 12 volt coming from. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to your Holley harness, the input-output harness. You're going to find input number 2. The color coding for input number 2 is, I can't actually remember what, but that's easy enough to figure out. Actually, hold on, just for the sake, I will tell you. It is the white wire with the red stripe. So there's the prong. When I flip that switch on, this wire gets 12 volts. This is the input number 2 wire. So now that I've repeated myself 20 times, you can see how simple it is. I flip this switch on, boop, 2-step is activated. So now no matter what you're doing, you hit the gas, it'll go right to the RPM you have it set at, and it's going to go on the 2-step. You foot brake it, hit the gas, your 2-step's working. So obviously you can set this up to be triggered by a ground. So you could use your brake pedal, you could use your clutch pedal, or anything else that you want, whether you want to set up for a ground or a 12 volt. What I'm currently going to work on actually is I wanted a steering wheel mounted 2-step, and instead of having to reach down here and flip this switch when I want to take off, so what I'm going to do is I have a relay under here that's designated for my horn, which isn't hooked up. So what I'm going to do is have a 12 volt supply that's getting a 12 volt supply to the relay, which is going to come from this switch. So this switch is going to provide 12 volt to the supply and switch side of my relay. So you flip that on, it's going to basically prime the relay. It will need a ground input, which is going to come from the horn, because that's already a ground input. And then it's going to need an output, a 12 volt out, which is going to obviously go to the wire for the number 2 input for the ECU, which is going to start the 2-step process, with the final loop being this horn button. Push it on, everything's engaged, let go of the horn, and she's going to rip. And in a nutshell, and completely, that's all there is to it. So go get that shit set up, and then send me a video so I can hear it later.